All right. Welcome to the Town Council meeting, Town of Southwest Ranches. Good to see everybody here. If we can please call the roll.
Mayor Bright Cruz.
Here.
Vice Mayor Hartman.
Yeah.
Councilmember Albritton.
Present.
Councilmember Jablonski.
Here.
Councilmember Kaczynski.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Excellent. Thank you. If you'll please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. So we have a little bit different meeting tonight. And so I was just looking to see the order of these things. I kind of thought I was going to go in a different order, but this will work. This is fine. So we'll go ahead. What we're going to be focusing this meeting on is the survey that we've sent out over the last several months. And we did it in a little bit different way. It took a little convincing on me, but Russell convinced me, and it turned out to be really good. Great job, Russell. And so we've gotten a lot of feedback, a lot of responses, more than we've historically gotten. And I think it's been a little bit more targeted. And so we're going to focus on that this evening. I want to make sure that I just show my appreciation to all the residents that filled it out. We had more than 400 residents complete the survey, which is really awesome. It's a significant number. And so the results mean that that means that the results are going to be more meaningful as well. So with that, let me turn it over to you, Russell, to kick us off and take it from there.
Thank you, Mayor. So the survey is basically the first step in our efforts for a strategic plan update for 2026, and we felt that it was really important in order to effectuate an effective strategic plan to have the input from the residents. So this is the first step in doing so. We engaged a firm called On Point Insights. Principal's name is Ron Gailey, gentleman I met at a city manager conference some time ago. I was really impressed with the presentation that he gave, where his survey and their methodology was basically different than other community surveys that I've seen in the past. So I was really interested in that, stayed in contact with Ron over the years, and I always knew that I would want to utilize this firm when we were going to do something in the future. So with Deputy Administrator Catherine Sims' assistance, we engaged On Point Insights. We basically kind of met with them and talked about what was important to capture. They work very collaboratively with us, and I'm very proud of the input that we received. I'm not going to spend a lot of time kind of explaining the survey, but I'm going to have Ron and his team. Ryan Young is with him. They're on the call right now, and basically they're going to go over the key takeaways and what they found and how we can interpret the survey results. So without further ado, I'll turn it over to Ron Gailey. And again, I just want to thank Catherine Sims for all of her work on this too. So thank you so much, Catherine.
Great, thank you.
Ron, are you there? Ryan, are you there?
I'm here.
Awesome.
I'm here, and I'm joined with Ryan Young. Ryan's going to do the majority of the presentation here because, frankly, he did most of the work, and I'm glad to have him present. And Ryan, why don't you take it away?
Great. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Russell. Thanks, Ron. It was a pleasure to get to work with Southwest Ranches on this survey. As Russell mentioned, it was collaboratively designed, and we were able to get a sample of 409 residents, which is great. That gives us a plus or minus of 4.7% statistical margin of error. And we used diverse methods for recruiting. We used constant contact, which was the city reaching out to residents. That got 32% of our sample. 28% came from emails from On Point Insights. A number of residents took it from the town website, and some received text messages, and others got it from the front desk, Facebook, or newsletter. The survey structure goes first by validating that participants really live in Southwest Ranches through a variety of means, and then they evaluate how likely they are to refer a friend and how they compare to the other city and other cities and towns in the area, and also if they feel like Southwest Ranches is going in the right direction or not. And then we get into 4 main question groups looking at town amenities, growth and development issues, safety and security, and town leadership. and each resident chose 2 items from each group that they thought was most important. So we get clear priority rankings across 40 plus attributes that matter to residents. And then we got the ratings of things that residents felt were important. And the great thing is that we can get ratings of, as you'll see in the data, many, many attributes in still a very short and compact survey that's easy for residents to take. And is not watered down by people giving opinions about things that they don't actually care about. And then we went through other topics specific to Southwest Ranches near the end of the survey as well. We were able to get residents from all over Southwest Ranches. District 3 was slightly more represented than the other districts by percentage, but it's also very population dense in that area, so it wasn't surprising. Looking at demographics, we had a good range, many older residents engaging and some younger residents as well. Good split on gender, male, female, 30% with children under the age of 18 living in their household, 70% without children. A lot of long-term residents, 60% have lived here 20 years or more in Southwest Ranches, and the other half have lived here less than that, of course. Mostly homeowners taking the surveys. They're more invested in the community typically. And so these are the demographics. We even got a few part-time residents, but mostly full-time residents taking the survey. Now, a really key question that the survey opens up with is asking them how likely they are to refer a friend to Southwest Ranches. And the response to that was overwhelmingly positive, in the upper range of what we see of very happy residents. So as you can see, very little negativity, just a strong positive result here, which is great to see. And on any of the pages, if you're in the dashboard, which it's my understanding that the town is going to publish this on their website at some point, you can go to a filter, and so you can see how men respond, for example, ever so slightly less positive. How females respond. You can see females with children, for example, so moms essentially, a little bit more negative than those without children. But it's just an example of what you can do using these demographic filters over here on the right. And they also persist, so if you have one turned on, you can go through the entire survey if you wanted to look at moms that have been in the town for X amount of years, and so on and so forth. Do pay attention, though, that the sample size on the bottom will shrink as you get these, turn these filters on. So if you turn on too many, you may get down to a very small number. And then you need to turn the filter up if you want to see the full sample going forward. This asked on the direction of the town. The majority feel that Southwest Ranches is going in the right direction, but there's potentially room for improvement on this score. But still, if we look at how it compares to other cities and towns, a dramatic positive response here. And you know, when you're already doing so well, it's hard to continue to improve or do something like that. But another thing I'll mention here is that when we look at the past 3 years of improved, stayed the same, or gotten the worse, most people who say it stayed the same, they'll break towards saying we're going in the right direction. To this point, does anyone have any questions? Ron, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Well, let's see if there's any questions.
Not a question. I do have an observation on this one. This is an interesting question to me because I actually struggle a little bit with this question, and I'll just be totally transparent with the town on this, because when we moved out here over 30 years ago, and the number of horses that were here, the open spaces, all of that was more than we see today. And sure. So it was an interesting thing, although I think obviously as a resident and as mayor, I think we've done a great job of preserving that as best as we possibly can, but it's a battle. It's a battle,
Yeah.
and it's like I've said many, many times, it's like a big bus that has no reverse. Once you give up a little bit, there's no getting it back. And so to me, that wasn't surprising to see that heading, not the decent number of people not going the right direction. This may sound shocking, but I actually put it's not going, not going the right direction, because I would love to see more horses. I would love to see more open space. I would love to see, more and more and more of that. And it's not the reality of where we're going to be or how it can happen. But it just motivates me to work even harder to kind of keep us where we're at and to do those things that we can to preserve our rural lifestyle. So it was a really interesting question, and so I just thought I'd just throw that comment out there on it.
I do have-
Absolutely.
Yep.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, there's a lot of forces on the town for sure. And balancing growth and development and preserving open spaces is a huge challenge. We can also look at this question by district.
Bob, did you have a comment?
Yeah, I just had a quick question before you move on.
Yeah, go ahead.
So in terms of the survey, I realize when people fill out surveys, they don't fill everything out, or they may only do 2 questions or what have you, whatever they're most interested in. How big was the average survey size across the questions you asked? Do you have a number?
It's 409. Actually, we remove anyone who doesn't fill out every question. So this is 409 complete responses, answered every question.
Okay. Okay, very good. Thank you. That makes it
Yeah, good question. Yeah, good. Thank you. Great. And then there's also looking at, this is the refer a friend score, which is the calculation of positive responses minus negative responses. Again, very high scores, but you can look at it by any demographic variable. So we can look at it by age on this page, for example. Interesting, our older population is even more positive than our younger population. And then you can keep in mind sample sizes of each demographic population over here on the left. And you can look at it the same way by direction. Interesting observation, we noticed that those who have children were slightly more negative than those who do not. I don't have a conclusion, but it's just an observation on that one.
Yeah, and if I could just jump in there with and I think that's part of why when we look at, as Russell said earlier on, this is going to feed into a strategic plan, and I think it's information like that indicates that we do need to focus more on youth events, youth activities, things like that to get our youth more involved, and for families that have youth to make sure that we have an environment where they feel like we're doing the right thing and involving their kids. So that's how that translates from a survey like this, giving us information into something that hopefully will be able to address that and do better.
Thank you, Mayor. And then the core heart of the survey is going through the 4 categories I mentioned earlier: town amenities, growth and development, safety, security, and town leadership. And again, the way this was structured is that they would see, each resident would see this list of items for town amenities, and they would select the 2 that matter most to them, most important, and then give a rating on how the town is doing. And so, we can look down here and see that 5, and this is in percentages, so 5% of the sample selected ball fields as the most important thing for the town to focus on. And they feel like there's room to improve, but at the same time, it's not the most important thing. What matters most to the most people is maintenance of parks and open spaces and town events, interestingly enough. And they feel like you're doing fantastic at those 2 things, which is really good news. Another thing next down is maybe a trail system, multi-use trails, and doing well, but perhaps more room for improvement there than maintenance of parks, for example. And so this at a quick glance can really help city leaders prioritize and also communicate to resident why they're prioritizing certain things ahead of other things.
It'd be good to mention the multipurpose sport one on that one.
Oh, yes. So this one is NA on the rating because tennis pickleball courts do not yet exist. And so we didn't ask for a rating of them, but we did include it for a prioritization comparison. Thank you, Ron. Looking at growth and development issues, the 2 most important growth issues to residents is large acreage lot preservation and equestrian and animal friendly as a principle. And they also feel like they're doing pretty well at that. Street and road resurfacing and maintenance was also fairly important, and residents were less satisfied with road conditions. Water, wastewater, and stormwater drainage was also of a concern for residents, and there's a little bit of room for improvement there.
Can you help us on, can you go back to that one, please?
Yeah.
So there's one that I find very interesting, since we don't have curbs and sidewalks in town. You know, we're talking about maintenance and expanding. It looks like we're in great shape with an 8. And the poor, very poor. I mean, is that people want them? Or our maintenance is very poor because we don't have them? How would you interpret the curb and sidewalk question?
I guess that probably means that they want more sidewalks, that they would like to have sidewalks. I wasn't aware that you didn't have any sidewalks. I was under the impression that there were some sidewalks. Or
There are
perhaps we
some.
wouldn't have
Yeah,
had it
not-
ready.
Yeah, not very many people picked that one. A lot more on the prior page picked the trails.
Sure.
So you might, I'm not sure exactly where that goes, but in a lot of cities, we find that as there is development, the ease of walking, getting out, and just enjoying nature, that kind of changes. And so if there are not paths and trails available, or sidewalks, whichever way you choose, it can affect the way they feel about it.
Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Looking at safety and security, people were passionate about neighborhood police patrols provided by Davie PD, and generally satisfied. It's kind of split almost a third, a third, a third. Crime prevention initiatives was also high up there. Traffic enforcement was also high up, but things like adding guardrails for streets was a very low priority. Building plans and code compliance were not nearly as important to residents as maybe visibility of police. And
Not all
patrols.
residents, for sure, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm surprised with code compliance.
And then looking at town leadership topics, preserving small town community and rural lifestyle. It's probably not a surprise, but people really care about it here in Southwest Ranches. And so it's great to see the vast majority support that vision, as you were discussing earlier, Mayor. And they feel like you're doing a pretty good job at it. Also, as you alluded to, you know, you always wish you could have more, right? And that's a tough one to balance with growth. Other important things to residents was transparency and fiscal responsibility. Transparency is very difficult to measure, and I would imagine even in residents' minds, but they feel like you could be more transparent and relatively satisfied on fiscal responsibility compared to other things. Then we can take, what we do is they each select 2 items from the 4 categories, and then they have a list of 8. There are 8 most important items. And we then ask them to pick what is the 4 most important to you. And so that gives us a cross comparison between categories. So how does town amenities compare with the importance of police patrols versus the importance of preserving small town community? And so from that leadership category, the prioritizing preservation of small town community and rural lifestyle won by quite a bit, a significant margin, and then a kind of a smooth taper down from there in terms of importance. So large acreage lot preservation, which really is kind of the same realm of categories of preserving the rural lifestyle, and then street and road resurfacing. And so then we can kind of compare the importance with the ratings and maybe see some pain points where we could potentially improve things with concerted effort. So the street and road resurfacing might be a top recommendation, just looking at the data of what can improve quality of life for residents.
You know, and my experience is that if you look at anything in the top maybe 15, we're only showing the top 20 here out of about 40 attributes. And so you're already seeing the top half. And so as you're planning, of course, you can look at things that are not in the top 20, but make sure you keep an eye on the things that are in the top 20, especially if they're a little bit more negative, and see how that can be slightly refined, improved, and especially anything in the top 10 where you believe you can act on that in a meaningful way.
Yeah, that's true. Thank you, Ron. It is important to balance what can be done and the costs and those things.
But you can also you can click on moms with kids, and you can see, for example, as the mayor said, well, I'm wondering if, we ought to do anything different, and you can find out what's really important to them. And so some things do move upward considerably for certain groups, and you might even want to look at people who are older and find out, like, what do they need, and maybe younger, and what do they need. So some of those things can be very useful.
Can I ask you a question about the water, wastewater, and stormwater? So you've grouped together 3 categories that are pretty dramatically different. I'm assuming water means supply, drinking water, that sort of thing. Wastewater would be sewers, which we don't have any. And then we've got stormwater drainage, which, I think everybody understands what that is. That grouped together like that, I'm not sure how to make information out of it. People aren't happy, but I'm not sure if they're not happy with their well, they're happy that they don't have sewers, or we're not draining the town properly when I see 46 on very poor.
I think it's a fair point. And maybe it just bears some trying to get more feedback. The other thing we have in this survey are comments. And we can look for comments about water, wastewater, and stormwater drainage and really get your mind maybe more clearly around what they're talking about.
Yeah, there was a lot of negative about our drainage projects. So maybe that's what's influencing that high number.
Some people, so we want freedom of well water, so maybe they don't want to be on a well system. There's also a specific question about water and wastewater infrastructure preferences. So we did try to understand this topic a little bit, but you bring up a good point about lumping it together. Those decisions kind of sometimes have to be made to keep lists at a manageable size.
Sure.
But it's a valid concern. Since I'm on this page looking at water and wastewater preferences, what's that? So the majority would like to maintain the current system, but it's not a true majority, 45%. If you combine 35 and 20%, of course, 55%, the majority would like to see some sort of improvement. So either optional improvements, providing access to enhanced water and wastewater infrastructure, or a town-wide system. And so, yeah, I think there is a certain level of demand for additional water infrastructure where it's appropriate and where the city can act on it. So I want to wrap up pretty soon. We don't have time to go through every single page of the dashboard, but we also have information like staff department rating, only if people had reported having contact or service experiences with that department. So on the left, you can see, and this is not a percentage, this is an absolute number from survey respondents of contacts with that department and then how they rated it. And across the board, pretty positive ratings. They're ordered in positivity rating. And of course, people are going to say nice things about the fire departments. And code compliance usually has some more negative experiences associated with it. But by and large, like everything here is quite positive, which is good to see. And we also got attributes on town ratings. People rated quality of life very highly. And we asked questions about communications, which you can go look at. And we have comments, as we alluded to, 3 different sections of comments that can be filtered by topic and also by your demo filters. And so I look forward to all of you having the dashboard. You can explore it further. And really, if anyone has questions, at least about how the survey was conducted, or the data itself, we'll take questions now if there's additional questions, and also you can email us. You can reach out to Russell to get our contact info afterwards.
By the way, I'd like to, as Ryan wraps it up, I'd like to say that your ratings are super high compared to most cities. So you're going to see people making suggestions, and I think that's all for the good to have some guidance as where to prioritize. But you do have wonderfully high ratings, and what a wonderful place to be able to live in. And now you just have another tool to help you refine your approach to serving the public.
Very good.
Agreed.
Mayor, if I could just say a few words. So one of the reasons why this tool attracted me to it was because obviously when you are providing services, an array of services to a diverse group of residents, we only have obviously a limited, amount of resources in terms of budget dollars to address situations. This resident survey helps us to identify what are the issues that are most important and where the greatest improvement can be gained. And I think it represents that very well. A lot of times you'll see surveys and it'll tell you you're doing, great or poor, but it doesn't really prioritize, what's most important to those people. So this tool represents that graphically, and it allows us, the way I look at it, as a tool to basically say, how do we reallocate dollars in the future as part of the strategic plan to address those areas that are most important to people, but where there's most dissatisfaction, so that we can reduce that. We're not going to make everybody, I would love to say we can make everybody happy and everything's going to be 100% in favor. We know that's not realistic, but what we can do is work on reducing those levels of dissatisfaction to the things that are the most important to the residents of Southwest Ranches, and that's what we'll endeavor to do in this next couple of years.
Excellent. Yeah. Thank you, Russell. Yeah, it's going to be a great tool, I think, for us to be able to really put together a multi-year plan. We don't do the survey every year. We do it every 3 to 5 years or so. And so we'll put together a plan, and I'm sure there'll be further discussion on that plan here in the council, and further feedback and input from the residents. So, but this is a great step forward, and I think it's the best tool we've ever had to be able to really understand where we are at and what we can do to improve the town even more. So it's great to have. Yeah, Bob.
Just a quick comment. I mean, I agree with everything you just said about allocation of resources, et cetera. But I also think that this is a wonderful communications planning tool. I saw some answers on there that clearly we're not getting the message out on some things. I mean,
Correct.
we've done a ton of drainage projects, and that caught me right away because we've spent a small fortune. Fortunately, it's not all town dollars. A lot of it comes from the state. But is that what people are interpreting as stormwater problems? Or do they have a flood in their backyard? And we need to tell them to let us know if they're flooding during storms. And that's a simple example. But as we were going through that, there's tremendous opportunity to communicate.
As we all know, on the council and administration, we're obviously endeavoring to address that communications gap.
Yep.
And this will be a way for us to target those gaps. And if we can speak to the residents and let them know about upcoming, whether they be drainage projects or resurfacing projects, and how it's going to benefit their quality of life, that's certainly something that we're going to endeavor to do.
The HOAs get tremendous credit for the town events, too.
Yes, they do. Any other council comments on this? I want to open it up to the residents. I'd love to hear any thoughts that you all have on the survey, or things we can, what good, bad, and indifferent. So let me open it up.
We have a speaker, Mayor. Yep, Newell Hollingsworth.
Noah Hollingsworth, 199th Avenue. As a professional in this field, having taught it at the University of Design and Implementation for various different departments, I have found 2 errors. Bob found one. There's another one. Never mind. But not breaking up the way Bob said, the wastewater, et cetera, et cetera. That is a design flaw which means that the interviews that took place between our vendor and our administration, and I hope it was also the council, failed somewhat. Not completely, it's a very nice survey. And I'd like to see that and the data and everything else to take a look at it. Also, not taking into account those individuals who only did part of the survey. Those affect the outcome of those questions.
Yeah.
You can get around that by mixing the questions up, where person A gets questions 1, 2, 3, person B gets numbers 4, 5, 6 at the beginning, etc. It's called mixing it up a little bit. So I think that's may have been. I don't know. They didn't say they did or did not. But if it was the same survey that everyone took identically, then I think there's a design flaw in that. You can take where someone has 4 or 5 questions that they answer and average it out throughout the entire survey, and get that data. While that may or may not have taken place, I don't know. I see it as a design flaw if it was not done. And what Bob was talking about is definitely a design flaw, because they didn't know we didn't have sewers. Thank you.
Thank you, Noel. Any other comments from the public on this? Come on. All right. Thank you all for coming out. Yeah, I don't know if we want to address kind of Newell's.
Yeah, I want to open it up to Ron and for Ryan
Yep.
to talk about the methodology of the survey. But one thing I will say about the question as it related to the water issue, what you saw was an amalgamation of responses. But if you go to the questions, we asked the questions specifically, and they were not all lumped together. So there were questions about, would you support basically a municipal utility system? That was a different question than the questions related to how we're doing on, water drainage projects. But what you see here is basically an amalgamation, I think, of those responses to that. Maybe that's where that was maybe not as clear, I'll just say. But the questions themselves, and if you looked at, and you tied it into the actual questions that were asked and looked at those responses, I think that the information would be a lot clearer. So, Ryan, I'm sorry.
If we go out to the dashboard, then you can drill down on just people that want water?
Yeah, you
Or
could,
don't want water.
you could drill down to the responses to the
Okay.
questions, yes.
Good.
Yes. So Ryan and Ron, I'll just leave that to you. You heard some of the questions, the critiques, if you will. If you could just address some of those concerns.
Yeah, so on each question where there was a list and it wasn't like just a yes or a no, it was randomized, the responses. So every resident would see the list in a different order to help remove some of or account for that random noise and not bias one response over the other.
Yeah, second part is when they were rating it, we have grouped them good and very good together and poor and very good poor together. But it was a 5-point scale, not a 3-point scale. And so we merely grouped them together for ease of seeing prioritization, where to focus, rather than making it so complex for the reader on the back end. So I think that was another thing. Regarding, no, I think those are the 2 main points. Actually, and it may be helpful for me to talk a little bit about our credentials. So I was the research director for 2 major banks, including Chase Bank, and I was the research director for Coca-Cola, responsible for all of Asia. And so for the better part of 30 years, my career was helping executives make decisions. And the way we ask questions is born out of the need to help executives make very clear decisions. Now, I agree that the water, wastewater, we grouped some things together in this particular case, and I think you can poke a hole in that one. You can say, wait a minute, those should have all been separate. But we were balancing several things, like how to keep the survey short and intuitive, and then how to get the detail out of it that we need. And so, and then also we do have comment questions that allow you to go into quite good depth about the very things that people commented on. And so I think we're covered. Is it different than the way some academics do it? For sure. Out of design, on purpose, right? But I think his point is valid that you can't tease all three of those apart. On the other hand, we kept it under 10 minutes, right?
Yeah, excellent, very good. So I think the challenge for us now, too often, this becomes an interesting milestone somewhere in the history of the town. I think the real work starts now, as far as taking this information and translating it into, number one, a strategic plan, and then translating that into more tactical decisions that we can make to address these particular areas that we want to improve on. So that's all yours, Russell. Thank you. No, I'm just teasing. No, that is going to be the challenge, though. That is going to be the challenge, and that is a difficult thing to do because there's always a lot going on, and it's easy to have this kind of fall into the kind of the background as a second tier thing. Like we'll get to it, but the information is fresh, and so I know you're all over it because this was your kind of your priority to begin with. So I know you're going to be all over it, but I want to make sure you certainly have my support. I think you have the full council support to keep this a priority, and I want to would love to see reflections of this all throughout the next 2 or 3 budget years. All right. All right. Any other comments from the council on this? Seeing none. Well, a job well done. A job well done, both to the team here and to the team, that actually pulled the survey together. Thank you all.
And thank you.
All right. So let's see. We are at. Is there any other public comment this evening? Do we get any other public comment cards? Okay. No other public comment. Any board reports this evening? Seeing none. Council member comments.
Yeah, I'll go real quick.
You go for it.
Shocked.
Go
aren't
for
you?
it. Yeah. You got it.
Yeah, just a brief commentary on the survey at the end, but just to let everybody know some real important dates coming up. First off, thank you all for coming, and those of you out in YouTube land, thank you for YouTubing in, for lack of a better way of saying it. September 30th, that's this coming Tuesday. There's a very important meeting at the Sheridan Street Library over there on 172nd in Sheridan regarding the Sheridan Street widening project. It's between Flamingo and Volunteer. Starts at 6 p.m. We really need to pack the house. And David will expand more on that.
Thank you.
As we go on. David, I'm not taking your thunder,
All
just
right.
giving you the date. Okay. September 27th, it's this coming Saturday. We have bingo at the barn. Are we sold out? Yeah. We're close. Okay. We've got a few left if you want to get tickets. See December or at the front desk. Dinner starts at 6 p.m. We've got the volunteers all set up. Thank you, Lee, and Jim. And so we're all ready to go on that. The Parks Foundation is going to have the pumpkin patch on the October 16th through the 19th at the Preserve. And they're also doing a food truck event on the first Tuesday of each month, starting, I think, around 6 p.m. Rancher Academy, I assume you're going to talk about that. So go from there. Halloween contest, I'll leave that to you, David. And October 11th, the hazmat is at the barn. It starts at 8 o'clock in the morning. Utilize it. It's very important. You can get rid of all your hazardous waste there. You never get out of your car or your trunk or pickup truck, and they take it from you. You just got to show them your driver's license. It's very good. The commentary I wanted to make on the survey. Statistically, it's pretty significant. It returned a higher amount than what I thought. It's roughly right around 5% of our population, and I was glad to hear that they threw out the ones that were incomplete, because that really skews the results when you take these surveys and stuff like that. The wealth of information that's in there as you break it all down, having conducted numerous surveys in my collegiate years and after that with in the hospitality industry, really lent a lot of insight into how this is all prepared. They did an excellent job on that. Just want to make mention of that. I think it would be also helpful, Russell, if all the council members could get like an electronic copy of all the detail that we just saw, that we can look at it. I mean, because right now we just got comments and we got a synopsis that's one page, which really doesn't dive deep into it. And I think we should all, take a look at it, because this is something that we will probably reference for the next 4 to 5 years as we go back on, and it's a tool for us, to move forward in the future. So anyway, I'm out of gas on that one. So whoever's next.
All right, great. Thank you.
I'll go real quick.
Okay.
I thought the survey was pretty interesting. I want to really drill down on it as well. Russell, I had a question. Is this going to be out on the town website so residents and realtors particularly can look at this?
Yes, thank you for the question. The link to the survey will be placed out there. We also will just basically put it in PDF form. I'm sorry, there's a child abduction alert going on.
Yeah.
We will put it in a PDF format when we get the final kind of summary from the consultant for everyone to see. And it may have been overlooked, or maybe it wasn't clear, my communication to the council, but the email that I sent where I previously sent the comments and the key takeaways, the actual link is there. If you click on that link, you can drill down to the dashboard that he was showing today.
Right. And I took a couple of stats courses in college a long time ago and some operations research, but I am not a surveyor, never played one on TV. Mm-hmm. I don't get how, see, I feel a little differently about the questions that were left out. If I cared enough to fill out 4 or 5 key questions because I feel strongly about them, I think we've skewed them in the other direction by eliminating those. If somebody feels really strongly that they want wells or what have you, and their results were taken out, I don't see how those types of questions skew the result in the wrong direction. So Gary, maybe since you've done this, you can explain it.
Yeah, well, you're looking at all your percentages are based on the whole population that you accrued in there, and then if you've got missing elements of it, it skews the percentages all over the place. It doesn't give you a true insight of what you're looking at. That's why the survey needs to be completed in its entirety to give you, in other words, it's that old adage, numbers can be played with, where you need the complete survey so they can't be played with.
Okay.
Does that, I
So
don't know
it's
if that makes sense.
this is a typical practice then, rejecting incomplete surveys?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's usually, unless you've got a surveyor that's being rather unscrupulous and trying to
Sure.
skew it to a certain point of view
Got
or
it.
certain information, on that, because it will blow the results. Especially if it's just 1 or 2, it's not a big deal.
Right.
But if it's 20, 30, or 40, depending on the percentage, it will definitely.
Okay, makes
Skew it.
sense, now that I understand it. Thank you. I'm in the interest of brevity, that's all I have tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob. I'd like to go next.
All right. Thank you, folks, for coming out, and thank you, folks watching over in YouTube land. David Kaczynski, District 4. I'm going to talk a little bit about the meeting next Tuesday night. Let me go back a little bit. 2018, Broward County voters approved the Mobility Advancement Program, which is a 1-cent tax to fund transportation ventures. Our town of Southwest Ranches has implemented our initial share of the revenue. Many of the roads have been resurfaced with our share of the initial disbursement of revenue. However, Broward County continues its efforts to implement transportation projects. The Mobility Advancement Program, also known as MAP Broward, describes the 30-year project-based plan, including transit, public works, and municipal projects. Project types include, but are not limited to, road and bridge improvements, congestion, management strategies, mobility innovations, pedestrian and bicycle facilities, transportation system studies, operations and maintenance of existing service and infrastructure, transit service enhancements, capital investments, and support services used to operationalize the program. I love government words. One proposed project that is of concern to Sunshine Ranches, Southwest Ranches, it's drawn the ire of our neighbors over on Old Sheridan. It's the projected widening of the traffic on Sheridan Street. Currently 4 lanes, expanding to projected 6 lanes. The proposal will adversely affect our neighbors. The proposal, sorry, I lost my line here. Adversely affect our members along Old Sheridan, but mostly the residents in Sunshine Ranches with increased noise, brighter lighting, and overall diminution of our value of properties within Sunshine Ranches and Southwest Ranches. Our neighbors called and they need our help. The Broward County Highway Construction and Engineering Division will conduct a public information meeting for the proposed Sheridan Street improvements expansion from Volunteer Road to East Flamingo Road. The meeting is going to be held this Tuesday night, September 30th, 6 p.m. until 7:30 p.m., and it's going to take place at the Southwest Regional Library, 16835 Sheridan Street. That's a place where they'll have early voting. Folks, we need to pack this. The residents that I've spoken to along Old Sheridan are very concerned. They're not very happy about what's going on. They don't want to see their property values diminish. I don't want to see their property values diminish. I think that's kind of a responsibility of the town to help out our neighbors. You know, we did that. We've done this several times when we advocated for, before 3 of us were elected, Jim and Steve and myself, the barn tax. We fought that. We got together regarding tractor supply. This is a similar issue. This is a lot of neighbors are, I'm going to say, are pissed off. They don't want this to happen. So I hope I can get people there. I'm putting this out every day. I'm going to, over the weekend, I'm going to start texting these comments to everybody I know in Sunshine Ranches. They're going to get texts from me. I'm sorry, but it's important to me. So I hope we can pack this place, and I hope to see everybody there Tuesday night. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, David. Appreciate your leadership on that.
All right.
Jim.
Thank you, Mayor. A couple real quick things. Like you said, I think that the Halloween house decoration takes place. They're going to judge, and I believe it's the 24th. If you come out, you'll see the big pumpkin running around. You know, at Christmas time you see Santa, but at Halloween you see the big pumpkin to give out the award. So we have some residents that really go out of their way to decorate. So if you get a chance to get out and see that, you know, it's great. The Rural Arts Board has chosen the 12 pictures that will go in the calendar. It may be one of yours. When you get the calendar, all the pictures are on the back, but the 12 that stood out for each particular month are there. I think they did a real great job. We had some really great pictures that came in, some really nice ones, and they voted on those a couple weeks back or so. And lastly, working with Miss Susan Coots here at Town Hall, and worked real hard to come up with something that we could get the attention of the veterans in town. You know, I do attend the Davy breakfast. It's the 3rd Tuesday of each month. And they have 100 to 110 residents, or veterans, I'm saying, I don't mean residents, veterans show up. I don't know if we would ever get there. I'm sure we could. We have 240 vets here, but we come up with one, and you'll see in this month's edition, and I'm going to show it to you ahead of time. I was able to speak to a couple of those, and here's their picture. There's two veterans there. They're 102 years old. One was in the Air Force and one was in the Army. They landed at Iwo Jima and some of those islands. One of them was a pilot that actually dive bombed on the structures that were there to help the people land. Talking to them, I got goosebumps. They allowed me these pictures. And this is a very, very simple, it just simply reads, the town of Southwest Ranches is proud to support the creation of a veterans group as a way to honor and recognize the men and women in our community who have served our nation. According to the 2020 census, our town is home to approximately 240 vets, and we'd love to connect with as many of you as possible. If you are a vet, or if you know a vet who would like to be part of this new group, please send the following information so we can add you to our growing, it says in the paper, current. There's now 24 on the list, which is great. I need the name, the address, phone number, all right? This invitation has the full support of the town, and I thank the town, the mayor, the staff, and everyone. Miss December, there you are, thank you. And it'll provide the veterans with an opportunity to connect, share experiences, and be recognized for their services. I'm asking the vets to come on, reach out, get involved, and be a part. Contact me. My phone number is there. Use the cell phone. It's a 305 number. If you call the town number, it goes here to Town Hall. Or email me. And like I said, I just need your name, your address, phone number, and email. But I really think that Southwest Ranches could have a great group. And, I just need your support in getting that word out. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you, Jim. Appreciate your work on that. It's great. All right. I want to just touch on, so we're putting together the second edition of the Ranchers Academy. It's coming up here in October. We originally were going to have the meetings on October 1st and October 8th, but there was a conflict on October 1st, so we're pushing it back a week. We're still good with that, right? Yep. So it'll now be October 8th and October 15th. And so just shifted back a little bit. Are we, for the people we have already signed up, I know we've got a list of them. We're going to contact them.
Yes, we've already done that.
Good, good. So this is one of the things that it goes back to the survey a little bit. It's one of the things that is super important to me because so often the only tools that we have available to us to preserve our rural lifestyle, which frankly is the only reason why I'm sitting up here, is because we're always in a defensive position. Something's happening here, like David brought up this evening, where the way the county is building the road or something could definitely negatively impact and take another little bit of our rural lifestyle away from us. And so in most cases, we're like that, and we're fighting to be able to try and preserve what we've got. But the Rancher Academy is one of the few things we have where we can take a more proactive lead towards preserving what we have, getting the information out there on who we are and what the ranches is all about and why we're this way and the values that we have here and why it's important to pass those on to the next generation so that this continues. And so I really encourage folks to come out to it, whether you've lived here 6 months or 60 years, please come out. I not only want to communicate the information, but I want it to be a two-way street. I want to hear back those things that that you hear that you think can be improved, a better way to communicate it, other things that we should be talking about. So I really hope we get a good crowd out there. I will be there both evenings, and really looking forward to hearing this come out and come back. And also, we're really trying to get realtors out there so that folks that are moving into the ranches or are thinking about moving into the ranches, looking at property in the ranches, they get an idea of what the ranches is about even before they come out here. So I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a great option or a great program for us. The only other thing I'm going to touch on is that we are continuing to work towards getting the land in place for our new fire station, EOC facility. We're narrowing it down. We still have the goal of getting that contract in place by the end of the year, correct, Russell? Excellent. And it's important because we're under contract with the Davie Fire to be able to have this in place in just a couple of years. So, but we're working hard on it. I know Russell's working hard on it. Keith's working hard on it. We talk about it several times a week, every week, so we're making progress. So I will leave it there as far as council comments.
Mayor, real quick, if I could comment on something you said. I attended the last Ranchers Academy. I've been out here since 1985. I've been on a lot of the boards, attended most every one of the homeowner association meeting, and I'm going to tell you what, I learned something at that. We have departments here and department heads here that if you come and listen, you'll understand what the town's all about. There was things that I learned, and I thought I knew it all, but there was things that I learned. It's just absolutely amazing how each department puts on their particular piece of that program and how much you can actually learn. So I absolutely encourage everybody to get out here if you can. Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah, thank you, Jim. Thank you. So, Jacob, good to have you here this evening, filling in shoes for Keith and Richard. I don't know if there's any legal comments this evening.
There are no legal comments this evening.
Okay, well, thank you for being here. We appreciate it. Russell, administrative comments?
I'll make it brief, Mayor. I have 2 items. Just basically proud to say that the residential composting program that we have is really showing some great dividends. Thanks to the hard work of our residents that are participating in that program. Our latest stats reveal that we've diverted 1.8 tons of compostable waste from landfills, and they're being composted instead. So I'm really pleased about that. We have 72 residents that are now enrolled in that program, so we have room for 28 more. So if you have not already enrolled and interested in enrolling in that program, I would encourage you to visit our town website and go to the Hot Topics tile on our main page, and there's a registration link there for the residential composting program. So again, encourage you to do that if you'd like to do that. I do have a little bit of business that I do need the town council to consider. As you know from our briefings, our individual briefings, we have had an issue with our fire suppression system here for Town Hall. I've been working to try to rectify that situation for some time. In front of you on the dais, I have left a proposal from Railsback Pump and Control for an overhaul of the system that basically would provide a new well, all of the electronics associated with it. I've had our Public Works Director, Rod Lake, take a look at that. That proposal came in at $32,000. It's a little bit above my purchasing authority. What I've asked the town council to do is to approve this tonight, allow us to move forward with issuing a PO. I will bring back at the next council meeting a resolution to formally approve it, but I'd like to start the ball rolling of issuing the purchase order, allow the contractor to order the supplies and all of that so we can move forward. And we'll do this with fiscal year 26 money.
Great, thank you, Russell. Do we have a motion to move forward with this?
Just a question before we go forward. Russell, you said we're replacing the well.
Correct.
This says we're replacing the well pump.
Pump,
Okay.
excuse me, the pump.
Thank you.
I apologize, thank
No,
you.
no problem.
Do I have a motion on this
I'll
item?
make a motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion, and a second on it. Any discussion on this? I know we've probably come up in I know it comes up all the time in my briefing with Russell, so it's been going on. Any public comment on this? Questions? Seeing none, public comment closed. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Albritton?
Yes.
Councilmember Jablonski?
Yes.
Councilmember Kaczynski?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hartman?
Yes.
Mayor Bright Cruz?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Very good.
Thank you, Mayor. That's all I have this evening.
All right, very good. We have 2 sets of minutes to be approved this evening. One is for the meeting of May 8th, a regular meeting on May 8th, and the other one was the workshop on May 22nd. Is there any additions, corrections to either of those sets of minutes? Seeing none.
Motion to approve both of them.
Second.
Seeing none. Is there any public corrections, additions? Seeing none. Always have to smile. You know, at least I don't say anything anymore, Debbie, right?
Till now.
No, that's awesome. All right. Please call the roll.
Councilmember Jablonski?
Yes.
Councilmember Kaczynski?
Yes.
Councilmember Albritton?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Hartman?
Yes.
Mayor Bright Cruz?
Yes.
Motion passed.
Motion to adjourn.
Thank you all for coming out. It's great to see you this evening. Have a great evening.